Hello, this is Naren Smart Connect Mobile Starter. This is a new concept for which we have incorporated the mobile controller to the starter elements to make it a complete assembly. So this is suitable for all three-phase pumps from rating 1 HP to 7.5 HP. So we will quickly have a look at the outlook. So this is a complete metal body, and the type that we've made the wiring is for the DOL or direct online, or this is used for the single cable motors. So on the left hand side you would see RYB supply indicators, the three-phase supply indicators. Then you have the motor on light at the bottom. Then these two switches are for the manual push buttons, the manual switching on the motor and switching off the motor. So going into what is there inside, this is how it looks. This is the Naren 4G Smart Connect mobile controller, which will be the main part of the starter. Then along with this we have the contactor, Naren MU contactor, and Naren single phase preventer model mini. So then all the required entities for this mobile controller, like the CTs, the connectors, all the wiring to push buttons, everything will be made from us. So all you need to do is just connect the supply wires and the motor cables, and the device will get up and running. So the idea of making something like this is to make sure that we are retaining the regular starter elements and adding the mobile controller only on top of that. This is mainly because just in case you would want to get this repaired, or if there is some service that this would be needing, this part. So you should not be left without starting the motor. So the idea here is, even if this product is removed or sent for repair, the starter would still be functional. You can still turn on and turn off the motor. The only thing is the mobile connectivity and the protections offered by this particular mobile controller would not be there. So thereby you would not wait for this controller to come back till you resume the starter operations. And to make it simple, we have implemented the connector based design. So for example, if you want to take out the mobile controller, all you need to do is dismantle this. You can just unplug the connector, and likewise you can unplug all the connectors, and there's a DIN rail. You can just slide the whole unit together and send it to us for servicing, just in case. And then you have this modular concept. So the adapter is on the left hand side. This is the 4G module, and this is the controller. So the idea of designing something like this is, just in case if only the adapter fails, this module alone can be replaced. So the whole concept is to make it relatively simple for the users to handle this particular module. And then this is pretty much about the outlook. So then there's a SIM slot provided here. So you need to insert the SIM card. Okay, you need to slide the SIM card underneath. So this is the slot where the SIM card has to be put. And since this is a 4G module, you can use any SIM cards along with Jio, Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, BSNL. Any of these networks will be compatible with this 4G module. Then there is the space for antenna. There is this antenna connector here. So antenna can be routed through the hole given here, and this antenna has a magnet which can be placed on top of the metal body. So this is another simpler thing. Then you might see these connectors. This connector is given just in case you want to replace this preventer, and likewise there's an RYB connector here that feeds the supply to this mobile controller. So this is about the outlook. So coming to the features of this mobile controller. So Smart Connect mobile controller is a pretty feature-rich device. So when it comes to the number of users who can operate, so this device allows the access for 3 users. So 3 numbers can be registered inside this device, and those 3 numbers can control the starter. So thereby all the other calls from like advertisement, everything will be ignored, and only the message and calls from these registered numbers will be accepted by the device. Then when it comes to the modes, so the device offers 5 rich operating modes. The modes are named as manual, auto start, cyclic timer, daily auto, and shift timer. So these are the 5 operating modes that the device would offer. The very first mode, so just to brief about the modes, the very first mode is called as manual mode. So manual mode, as soon as the power resumes, you would get a message. The device would send the message to the 3 registered numbers stating that the power is resumed and the voltages are so and so in all the 3 lines. Then if they choose to switch on the motor, the 3 users, any one of them can give a call to this number inserted, the SIM card number inserted, or they can even send a message to trigger the motor start. Likewise, if they want to switch off the motor, the same process holds good. So they can call or SMS the number, the device turns off the motor. So once the motor is switched on, so we'll go to the on operation. So when the user calls and turns on the motor, the device turns on the motor, and once the motor is on, the device waits for the feedback from the starter. It will collect the current readings from the starter and then sends the cumulative message to the users. So stating that the motor has switched on successfully, the currents when the motor switched on are so and so, and the voltages after the motor switched on are so and so. The motor is switched on because it has received a command from this particular user, and this command has been executed at this particular point of time. So all these information will be there in one single message sent by the device. Thereby, all the three users will be in loop, so they'll get to know who has started the motor and what time the motor started, likewise. And then to switch off the motor also, the same process holds good. So this is about the manual mode. And when it comes to the auto mode, which is the second mode, so the auto start inside this device gets activated once you switch to the auto mode. Auto start mode, make sure the motor runs continuously for as long as there is 3-phase supply. So once you switch to the auto start mode, the device waits for the arrival of the power supply. Once the power supply resumes, it will check for the voltages. If the voltages are in the range, the motor is automatically switched on, and then the device sends a message. The device first takes action to switch on the motor and then takes in all the readings and sends a message to the users stating that the power is resumed. Since the motor was in auto start mode, since the mode was in auto start, the motor has successfully been switched on, and these are all the current parameters. So this is what the auto start message looks like. And then you can always switch off the motor by the same call or SMS feature in the auto start mode also. This is about the second mode. The third mode is the cyclic timer mode. So cyclic timer is pretty important mode, wherein you can set the run and wait intervals for the device. For example, if you set the on time or the run time as 30 minutes and off time or the wait time as 2 hours. So the device, what it does is it runs the motor for 30 minutes and it turns off the motor, and then it will wait for the set off time, which is around 2 hours. So it runs the motor, then turns off for the set off time, and this keeps repeating one after the other. So this cyclic timer mode is an intuitive mode that can be used at peak summers. Sometimes the borewell will not be able to feed the water for the longer durations. During that time, you can set the running duration as the time for which the borewell can feed water, and then the off time or the waiting time as a recharge time, 2 or 3 hours as per your applications. So the cyclic timer works that way. And then the fourth mode would be the daily auto mode. You can switch between the modes using just an SMS. You need not be present in front of the device to do the settings. So the fourth mode, the daily auto mode, is an improvised version of the auto start mode. In the daily auto mode, you need to set the cap of the hours for which you are running the motor in a particular day. For example, so there is, let us say the power will be available for 8 hours in a day, and all you need the water for is for 3 hours in that day. So all you need to do is switch to the daily auto mode and set the cap as 3 hours. So the device automatically senses the power supply, and whenever the power supply healthy voltages are there, it starts the motor and it runs the motor and calculates the total run time. So the total run time, when it crosses or when it hits the 3 hour set mark, the motor is then switched off. So if there is power cuts in between, so the device intelligently calculates the previously run time and saves this number, and when there is the next power resumption, the time will get added up, and the device makes sure the total run time for which the motor will run in the particular day would be for the set on time, which is 3 hours in this case. So daily auto mode works this way, and again that the time cap 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is, you can always adjust that using the message format given in the device. And then the last mode is a shift timer mode. So shift timer is timer mode. So you can usually, sometimes there will be this valve. You will have a calculation as to this particular valve should feed the water for this particular segment for maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. Likewise, you can just switch to the shift timer mode and start the motor by giving a call or SMS. Once the motor starts, the controller intelligently calculates the time, and once the time is up, the motor is automatically switched off. So here also, if there is power cut in between, the motor calculates the time. It calculates the total run time, the cumulative run time, and then only the motor is turned off. So once the shift timer is up, you would get a message stating that the set run time is complete and the motor is switched off by the device. And then if you wish to change the time, or if you want to resume, you can again reinitiate for the next interval or the next cycle. So this is about shift timer. So the 5 modes are intelligently designed so that your application would require any of these modes at any point of time. So majority of the use cases would fit into one of these modes. And the beauty is you can switch between the modes as and when required. So for example, if you want in a rainy season or sometime, if you just want the manual operation, you can run the motor whenever required. Then if you want the motor to run for as long as there is power supply, you can always switch to auto start mode with a message. Then if the water output is less, you can switch to the cyclic timer mode, or the day cap with the daily auto mode, and shift timer if you want multiple iterations, or if you want to run the motor only once in 2 days or 3 days, you can switch to the shift timer. So likewise, a majority of the practical scenarios, they fall into one of these modes. And then this is about the modes. And then when it comes to the motor safety that this device would be able to offer, the first thing is the digital overload relay. So the overload value or the high current value can be set by the user using the SMS again. So the message or the command gets updated and you get a feedback from the device. And when the motor is running, and whenever the current goes above the set H current or the high current value, so that is when the controller senses and it turns off the motor in the stipulated time, which is 12 seconds for the overload relay. And then, so once the motor switches off due to overload, you will get a message. So all the 3 users would receive the message stating that the motor has turned off due to this particular error, and the set value was this much, and the motor drawing current is this much. So you would get a complete message in the form of report. And then likewise, if you the second the protection that the device would offer is the dry run protection. So whenever the water level drops in the borewell, the device senses and turns off the motor. 8 seconds is the dry run trip time. So dry run we sense using the low current. So whenever there is a dry run in the motor, so the current drops than the actual values it used to drop. So we will set the according low current value. Whenever the current drops below the set value, low current value, the motor is turned off as dry run error. So overload error, dry run error. The third one is single phase error. So single phase error, device senses both supply end and the motor end. So whenever one of the lines are not present, the motor is not allowed to run. Similarly, when one of the motor cables is ruptured or opened or loosely connected, or one of the joints are open, all these cases the device senses and it will not allow the motor to run, and it will give out a message as single phase error. So that's about the third protection. Then you have low voltage and high voltage protection as well. So sometimes the users would want the motors to run only when the voltages are inside a particular range. So even that can be set. So all these parameters, low voltage, high voltage, low current, high current, all these parameters are settable by the users using the SMS command, and the device responds back with every setting the user has made. So this is about the protections offered. So basically the Smart Connect has multiple products built inside that. It has the manual mobile operation, it has the auto start unit built in, it has a cyclic timer built in, then it has a shift timer or the day time built in. Then it also offers protection features, an array of features like dry run, overload, single phase protection, low voltage and high voltage protection. So everything is built inside this particular module. And again, as mentioned earlier, so this is easily replaceable. You need not depend on anyone to send it to us. You would not wait for a person to come down, dismantle it for you. You can easily do it yourself, and we would be guiding every operation using a phone call. Just in case you need any help from us, we are there to help you out with the dismantling process also. And this is about the overview. We would quickly have a look at one simple operation, motor start and stop operation. And I would just turn on the power supply. So you would see that the power supply is switched on. And as soon as the power supply is on, you would see the three-phase voltage indicators, RYB, and this is the motor on indicator. So the display would light up, the LCD looks like this, the device ID is displayed on the LCD. The whole controller takes around 1 minute to boot because it has to connect to the network and then send a message. So there would be this initialization that would go on initially, so the whole process would take around 1 minute. You would see this network indicator. So this blinking indicates that the device is connected to the internet. So if it is stable, so the device is still not connected to the network. So the device is now trying to connect. It says it's getting initialized. And now, once the blinking starts, that means that the device is connected to the network. So the device now got connected to the network, the mobile network. And once it is through, you would get a message. The registered users would get a message. There you go, there's this message from the device. It says the power is back, it is safe to turn on the motor. And it has given all the three voltage readings also. The voltage readings, if you are there in front of the device, you can also monitor the voltage readings and the status on the LCD. Or you would receive this message. So on the message, you know that there is this voltage readings displayed. A is the currents, which are 0 because the motor is off. Then you have the device ID at the bottom and the date and timestamp at the very last line. So to turn on the motor, all you need to do is you need to give a call from the registered numbers. We are now trying to call. So this number is registered and this is saved as farm motor. So the device would disconnect the call after 3 or 4 rings. You just need to wait till the device disconnects the call. So you could see the call is going through. The device has received the call from one of the registered numbers, and then the device cut the call and the motor started. So you would see that the preventer light glows once the motor starts, the contactor latches, and the motor is drawing enough current. So the currents drawn are displayed on the LCD, and also you would receive the same message. The message says motor successfully turned on, initiated by. Initiated by is whichever user turned on the motor, that is the number populated there. Then the important thing to notice is the A or the ampere. The amperage is 5.5, 5.1 and 5.3. So it displays currents in all the 3 lines and with a decimal accuracy. So the voltage and current values received through this are of better accuracy, or this can be compared to any class 1 meter. So the readings here are pretty accurate. And then the motor currently is running. If you want to switch off the motor, there's a simple motor off command. So I would type in the motor off command. So this SMS formats would be given to you. So once the motor off command is sent, the device immediately received it, switched off the motor, and it is still switching off, and now the motor is off. You would immediately receive a message. There you go, we received the message stating the motor has successfully turned off, initiated by the number again. So motor on was done through a call and motor off was done through an SMS. So this is how you would be able to control the device completely. And this is pretty much about the starter. I hope all the concepts are clear. Just in case you have any queries, you can always reach us out. Our contact number is 99722 43774. And again, another important thing which I forgot was, just in case you want to switch on the starter using the buttons, you can still be able to do it. So pressing this button would always turn on the starter. As mentioned, it's used for the manual operation. Now the motor started, that was due to the manual operation. Likewise, if you want to turn off the motor, you can use this red button also. So pressing this red button would turn off the motor. This is how it is. Even the manual switch on and manual switch off would still be sending the devices. That you would get a message when someone manually switches on the starter also. This is pretty much about it. You can always reach us out if you have any queries. Contact number is 99722 43774, and you can also purchase this product in our website. Our website address is www.narenelectrics.in. Thank you very much for watching this video.